It is Friday and I'm doing week three's tour now. I waited all day Wednesday to do it just because I was feeling super lazy. Finally started working on it Wednesday night, but then one of my neighbors was mowing their lawn, the other one had a bunch of kids outside and they were like yelling and being kids, so I finally just shut it off, figured I would do it today. And then on Wednesday what I did instead is I just worked in the garden a little bit, did a bunch of pruning and stuff like that. A lot of my squash and pumpkins, they're getting to be about an inch or two big for the squash and then they're dying off, and the pumpkins are getting to be like about an inch in diameter and then dying off. And I think it's because they're not getting pollinated. So I pruned a bunch of the plants because I had read something a while back that if your squash is too, the leaves are too condensed, then the bees can't see the flowers. So I pretty much just pruned a bunch of stuff to make it easier to see for the bees and pollinators. And it worked because there is a bee flying around me right now as we speak. So not scared of bees or anything, I just don't want to be stung. But here are the two pepper plants. One of these is Hungarian hot wax and the other is sweet banana pepper. Like I've said in previous videos, I don't know which is which because I lost the labels and they look very similar. But whichever one this is putting on flowers. So hopefully we'll have peppers soon. And then I'm going to make Ken try it. And if it's hot, and hopefully they don't cross-pollinate because then we're just kind of screwed, but whatever. Here is that crazy volunteer sunflower that the stem. Look how big and fat this stem is. This is so crazy. And then check out how big these leaves are. Huge. And I'm not complaining because I love sunflowers. They're so pretty. And living in Kansas, we're the sunflower state. Over here we just have my potato bucket. One of them, it's trying to flower, so let me turn those off. You don't want the potatoes to flower, you want it to focus on producing the potatoes, so if you tear off the flowers, it will focus on the potatoes. Here's my bucket of carrots. Like I said, this is more of an experiment because I know they don't grow too well. But there's a little caterpillar over here. I don't know if you could see it. The shadowing's really bad. And then it looks like something laid a cocoon over here, so I'm just gonna let it kind of do its thing. Oh, there's another one. Then the asparagus, I put so much diatomaceous earth on this the other day. This asparagus plant looked like a Christmas tree, and they are still there. They will not give up. And I know my asparagus is done for the year, but I don't want it to eat the crop because then it won't put energy into producing asparagus for next year. But so many of these, I don't know if this will zoom in. My phone, I record on my phone and it's being really dumb. I've had this one for about 3 years and I think it's time for a new one. Yeah, it won't zoom in, but so many of these, it's ridiculous. And I straight up put diatomaceous earth on these bugs. Okay, so the bugs are driving me nuts. I took a brief break, trimmed up some of the asparagus, made a little bucket, and there's a Japanese beetle trying to crawl out. I'm tempted to I know I don't want the bugs to eat my plant, but I'm tempted just to cut it down because I don't know what to do with this. I don't want them to keep growing and then move on to my other crops. Here are my blueberries. They're not doing the best. I don't know what to do with these things, so I just kind of let them grow. Then we have another potato bucket over there, and then just a little bucket of fall crops or cold weather crops that are hanging on but just barely. And this little guy here is determined to get out. He keeps crawling up the stems I'm throwing in there, but little does he know he's not going to make it. And I do feel bad because I know all creatures deserve a chance to live, but not the creatures that destroy my crops. So yeah, so this is the first bed. It has calendula, have a couple okras growing. A few weeks ago I said I was going to move one of these because they were too popped up there, but I'm just going to leave it. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Like I said, I pruned my pumpkin plant and we have pumpkins growing here, little ones. Like I said, next year I need to trellis this because I didn't realize that they are climbers. Little pumpkin there. Where's the one that fell? And then that little black blob there was one that was growing and then it died. A couple more okras here, which I didn't realize how big that pumpkin plant was gonna get. That's why I'm okay leaving those ones back there as doubles because this thing's gonna get taken over by this single pumpkin plant. And this is after I pruned it. It's really big, which I'm not complaining. And then I put some zinnias back here late last week, so I pulled the mulch back so they wouldn't fight against the mulch, but now that they're popping up, I'm going to put the mulch back there. So one of the things I like about my beds is I have them close enough where I could sit on one bed as I'm working on the other one. I totally forgot about this little guy being so long, and I sat on it. So he looks like he's okay, but whatevs. And then I try to move him, but he just wants to keep coming back. Like I said, it's blocking the okra anyway, so I think I might just leave it for now. But here's my tomato and basil bed. Tons and tons and tons of blooms on this one. And then we got a couple tomatoes down here. This one is a black cherry tomato. They're really pretty. I'd seen a video on like how, I forget what these parts of the tomato are called, but like how most of them like curl up. Well, these stay straight out like that. So I just thought that was a really cool feature of those. This one is a Goldman's American, and it's starting to produce fruit, which I'm super excited for. Ken isn't a huge fan of gardening, but whenever we go to, like, we went to Baker Creek last fall, and I made him pick out a couple varieties just so he'd be a little excited about gardening, and this was the tomato plant he had picked out. So, and it's supposed to be like a really good meaty, like, canning type tomato, which was wonderful because all my canning tomatoes kind of went away, aka RIP tomatoes. Then this one here is a Dark Galaxy. They're getting big, but look how pretty these are. So pretty. This is my one Genovese basil plant, and I'm letting it go to flower to attract the bees because it kept trying to flower anyways because it's so humid here that I was just like, you know what, let it go to flower. Let me get some pollination, like attraction type stuff, and then I'll just save the seeds. And then this here is a Roma tomato, I believe. I don't honestly know. I lost the label to this one. This is my other basil plant that I'm letting go to seed. This one here, my sun sugar. I bought the original plant 3 years ago. It was a hybrid. You're not supposed to save hybrid seeds because they don't come true to their parent. But I like to do my own thing. So what I did is I saved the seeds after the first year, planted them last year, saved those seeds and planted it this year. So the original sun sugar, most of them were like this size, like super small plants. But some of these are getting really, really big. I don't know if you could see that. They're huge. These were really good last year. They split a lot though, but like I said, it's a hybrid plant that I'm just kind of playing around with and experimenting. So I'm just letting it do its thing, but I'm super excited. It has tons and tons and tons of blooms as well. And this one here is a citrus basil. It is so good. It had like a lemon taste to it, but it started going to seed as well. So I'm just letting it go to seed. This little plant here is getting its lean on, so I need to adjust the strings. This one is a Roma tomato. So it has, but it doesn't look like a Roma because look, it has all those like little divots and stuff. Sorry, my camera does not want to focus. And this one here is the Brad's Atomic Grape. It's producing quite a few tomatoes. So funny story, last week I was posting a review on Amazon for these clips. So like these clips here. So I was trying to get a good picture of it. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw this big purple thing, and I thought it was a bug, so I freaked out. I'm like, oh my god, what is that bug? Because even though I like to garden, I don't like bugs. Freaked out, jumped back, looked again. It was this guy. And this guy here is a pink Brandywine. It's a potato leaf variety. I actually wasn't going to grow this because I've never grown a potato leaf variety before, and I was kind of apprehensive about it since I am relatively new to like heirloom type gardening. Before I would just buy stuff at the store, like the little starters and stuff, and didn't really pay attention to like what kind of varieties, just like if they were big or small. Not, you know, a lot of the stuff you get at the store are not heirlooms, obviously, unless you go to a specialty store, and I would always just go to like Home Depot or Lowe's or something, or Walmart. But I'm super excited about this. I've been looking it up since I decided to plant it, and I'm really, really excited about the tomatoes. They look really pretty, they look really juicy, and apparently they're supposed to be amazing in flavor. This little stunted guy here is a Goldman's Italian American, just like the one I showed at the end of the bed. This is actually in the same row. I just moved to the other side of the bed. Or actually, I'm sitting on another bed, crushing my green beans so I could record this side. This one here is a purple calabash. So it looks pretty interesting. It looks like an egg shape. It's like super smooth right now. But I'm excited about that. I really was trying to grow a bunch of different heirlooms. Or that's all I grow now is heirlooms since I've gotten into heirloom gardening. But anyways, what I did is back in like December and January, I made a list of all the tomato plants I had seeds of, and then I started looking them up and figuring out what colors they were, like what they tasted like, the shapes and all that. And then I planted this bed according to like the color. So this is supposed to be purple, this is supposed to be red, this is supposed to be pink, that one's supposed to be like Technicolor because that's the Brad's Atomic Grape. This one's supposed to be, I forget what that is, Roma, right? So I also, with gardening, I wanted to produce well, but I wanted to be pretty as well. So yeah. And then here is another angle of that basil that is flowering, which hopefully will give me tons of bees and then tons of seeds. And then here's another angle of the Dark Galaxy. Like, this is so pretty, such a pretty tomato. This was developed by Brad Gates as well, who is the guy who developed the Brad's Atomic Grape. But yeah, super, super pretty. And then here's my bean bed. I sprayed a bunch of diatomaceous earth the other day, but my sprayer went bad, so I literally just took like a measuring cup and like sprinkled it, so it's all over. And then even though I have a Japanese beetle trap, there's still tons of beetles. Like, see, completely ate this leaf here. Super annoying. The ones here in the center didn't really grow, so I'm trying to train the green bean plants, like this one over here, to kind of grow back down there. That way kind of fills it in the spot. Yeah, so like I said, I'm trying to train the green bean here to like kind of grow back down and fill this spot here. I need to add more to the trellis because they are topping it. More green beans. Like I said, this whole bed is green beans. It's the rattlesnake pole bean, and down here there is a little baby bean. See that little baby bean there? So cute. These flowers on these bean plants are really pretty as well. Then here's my Dancing with Smurfs tomato. It's putting up blooms but no tomatoes yet. This is a Kellogg's breakfast tomato. This was the one that died. Like, the top got severed about a month or so ago, and I was trying to let it see if it grew back. That was the top, and then these were the side shoots. Like, look how crazy big this got. So since it's kind of turning into 2 tomato plants, I put it in a bucket since I can't really single stem it up those like strings I was doing in the tomato bed. But I'm super excited. These were like huge 1-pound orange tomatoes. They were so yummy. The cucamelons are going wild. Like, look at this. Just gonna let them do their own thing. So wild. I love these things. They are so good. Like I said, they are the size of a grape. They look like a cucumber, but they taste like a cucumber with a hint of lime. So yummy. And they look like a watermelon. They're even spreading over here. So over here I had like marigolds, but they never popped up. And then this was going to be my eggplant area. But all my eggplants died. But I'm thinking this might be a volunteer eggplant that came up from last year, because I had eggplants in this bed. So I'm kind of just letting it do its thing. It could be a weed. Who knows? The mystery continues. And then I just planted some zinnias here because this whole area of the bed, because it was supposed to be flowers, like cucamelons down there, flowers, and eggplant. Well, this part of the bed's kind of empty, so I'm just plugging stuff in. Although there are various cucamelons just kind of doing their thing over there. So whatever. But yeah, I'm curious if this is an eggplant. I'll be super happy if it is. I thought this plant here was a green bean, it's called a green, it's like a French green bean, and I'd lost all my seeds to it, and I thought one had grown back, so I thought that's what this was, but it's almost looking like a sunflower or something, so we shall see. Mystery plant number 2, so mystery plant number 1 is that one, mystery plant number 2 is this one, and then over here we have a tomato plant. This is a Berries Crazy Cherry. Sorry, even though it's like 10:30 in the morning, my neighbors are setting off fireworks, so you'll be hearing that in the background. But yeah, quite a few blooms on this. I heard this one, like one plant produces like over 1,000 tomatoes. So, and I'm OCD a little bit, so I weigh and count my produce. So we shall see how many tomatoes I get this year. My goal is to grow over 500 pounds of food. Last year, I think I grew about 300, and I'm doing much more dense planting this year, since I'm like, every year with gardening I learn more, so as with everybody. This one right here is the Jimmy Nardello pepper. This is the one that I was saying I was super excited about. I think I mentioned that every single time I post a video about gardening, because I had seen in tons of videos and like tons of gardening posts and groups and all that how awesome this pepper is. So Ken asked the other day if it was ready. I said no, we have to wait till it turns red. But these things are like, sorry, I'm trying to get this, but the onions are in the way, and then the leaves are in the way, and yeah. But it looks like there's 4 peppers on here so far, and this is just one single plant. I didn't top it. I wanted to, but then I kept forgetting which plants I topped and which I didn't. So I'm super excited for that. Tons of onions. It's kind of hard to like record since the onions are in the way, but I am not complaining. Then this one is an orange bell pepper. It doesn't look like it's producing. Oh, it looks like there's like a little bloom trying to start right there, so we'll see how that works. And then we have more peppers there. Letting my dill go to seed because it was trying to go to seed anyway, so whatever. Then this one here is another orange bell pepper. This one here is called a Corne de Toro, also known as Horn of the Bulls, I believe. I could be pronouncing it wrong. But this plant died back and it grew back, so I'm super excited for that because I lost a bunch of my pepper plants. Here we have a volunteer tomato because this was the tomato bed last year. This pepper plant is called the Tanzanian Baculati. I'll post it on there. But apparently it's supposed to be like a brown smoky tomato. And it's supposed to be super flavorful, so I'm excited for that. Back here we have another one of those. And then here we have, I think, a Thai chili pepper. I lost the label to that, but I'm pretty sure that's a Thai chili pepper. It doesn't look like there's any blooms on it yet. And then we have a couple volunteer tomatoes from last year. And it's producing flowers and then tomato blooms, so tomatoes soon. Then over here we have another one of those sun sugars, which is the one that I saved seeds from, the hybrid I've been saving seeds from for the last couple years, but it has blooms but no flowers yet, or no tomatoes yet. This tomato plant is the white currant. This is another one that I was super excited about. Pretty much I was excited about all my tomato plants, which is why I was so bummed when they started dying. But they're supposed to be really tiny, hence the name white currant. Sorry, a bug was flying at me. Little tiny, like whitish yellow tomatoes. So we'll see how they turn out. Over here we have the 2 tomatillos, tons of blooms. No tomatillos quite yet, but they're growing kind of wild. The one that was in the middle is now missing, so something must have ate it, whatever. But yeah, these things are huge. They're gonna get even bigger, which is why I planted them against the T-post, because I'm gonna have it like tied up against the T-post. And then you know the old adage, you want your corn knee high by 4th of July. Well, tomorrow's 4th of July, and some of this corn is taller than I am, but I'm only 5'1", so... But yeah, it's like tasseling and all that. I'm so excited. I've never grown corn before. Like, I used to always have the mindset, like, only grow what's really expensive in the store, but now I'm trying to grow stuff that I'm excited to grow, or like, just want to grow just to grow it. And this is supposed to be a peaches and cream sweet corn, so I'm super excited, and I'm planting it super close together, so we'll see. My 2 little ground cherries that aren't doing anything, so I think I'm done with ground cherries for the year. I'd started some more inside, but they take forever to grow, so yeah, I guess next year for that one. I mean, I'll still try to grow them, but I'm not gonna hold my breath on that. And then the tunnel is getting full. I'm so excited for this. So I'm gonna run through this quickly because my battery's about to die. But I dumped a bunch of seeds last week in the empty spaces, tons of weeds still. I'm like almost about to give up on the weeds. Just pull what's around the plant so they don't compete. But these are Minnesota midget melons. I just dumped a bunch of seeds and they're growing. This one is another Dark Galaxy tomato. That really big, like striped, pretty one. My sugar snap pea is barely holding on. This one is another one of those Goldman's Italian American, which is the one that Ken picked out, which I'm super excited for. These ones are smaller than the ones in the bed, obviously, because I planted these a little later. And then this one here is another one of those purple calabash. Let me flip you. This one here is another Brad's Atomic Grape. Got a couple volunteers back here. I'm kind of letting them do their thing. There's 2 there and 1 over there. Then this one is another Berry's Crazy Cherry. I figured up against this, like these ones, I'm not going to prune as diligently as the ones in the tomato bed, because those are only supported by string, so I can't let them get too heavy. This is supported by cattle panel, like really thick cattle panel and T-posts, so this should be fine to get wild. And then this is another one of those black cherry. Over here we have the Chinese noodle beans, and some of them are finally starting to climb the trellis. So I'm super thrilled for those. I'm super thrilled for everything, if you can't tell. I'm obsessed with gardening. I would love to turn it into a career or like a side gig somehow. Like, I just love talking about gardening, teaching about it, growing it, talking about the crops, pretty much obsessing. But yeah, like this one here, I'm 5'1", and this one is to my eye level right now, so. And the others are slowly catching up. Here we have the Italian striped zucchini. I have these tied up, so because I want them to try to trellis up and grow vertically. But we have one there, and then this one here is just growing really slow. Some nasturtiums, and last week I planted, I didn't even label it, I knew I was going to regret it, but I think this is like a yellow zucchini. And I believe these are cucumbers. I know this for sure is a cucumber, and I think the rest are cucumbers. Then over here, I planted more cucumbers, but they didn't grow like in this area, so I'll probably plant some flowers or something. And then here's my one cucumber plant that is growing, and then the rest. Here is the yellow squash. A couple days ago when I was trying to film on Wednesday and I couldn't walk through here, I just went through and pruned a bunch of these dead leaves and like made it easier for the bees to see the flowers. As you can see, they're not so condensed now. One of them was doing really, really bad. I don't know why, so I just finally pulled it because I kept trying to save it and it wasn't worth saving. And then like this one is putting out fruit, but they're dying off, so hopefully I'll get some pollinators over here. I saw squash bug eggs a couple weeks ago, killed them all. Haven't seen any yet, but I know they're coming. I talked to a gardener a while back and I said, is there a way to prevent squash bugs? She says, no, you know they're coming, so just do what you can to keep them at bay. These two here, so this was my other cucumber area. I was having a slicer cucumber area and a pickling. Well, these just wouldn't grow, so I had this whole empty like cattle panel that I wanted to plant against. So I just put some extra tomato plants here. So these two are Dark Galaxy, and then I just planted some basil that's just now popping up. And then over here, I'm gonna plant a couple Romas. I pulled the suckers off and I have them in water so they would root, and they're starting to root, so I'll probably put them out tonight. And then this is more squash that I forget what it was. I think I planted butternut and acorn. Who knows? We'll find out when they grow. And then I know this one for sure is a scallop squash. You can barely see it, just because I intended to put scallop squash there. And over here we do have scallop squash, but I don't see any of them yet. Scallop squash are so pretty. Then over here we have some butternut, and this is trying to climb the trellis, so I'm letting it. And then over here we have some more butternuts. And then over here we have a Minnesota midget melon. They are like tiny softball size cantaloupes. They were so good. Last year I just planted them just to plant them, and I'm not a huge cantaloupe fan, but I freaking love these, so I'm hoping I'll get tons of them. The flowers are really pretty as well. And then I threw some sunflower seeds in here, sunflower seeds, and then the Minnesota midget melons. So yeah, here's it from this angle. It's starting to grow. My goal is to have it grow all the way up each side, make it look really pretty, make it easy to walk under, and just essentially have like a tunnel of food just growing. I'd seen the idea a couple years ago and I was like, that sounds amazing. Last year we had 3 panels. We were going to get 3 more this year, and then we put up the 3, and then we put the posts in and realized we measured wrong per my demands, because Ken just did whatever I told him to pretty much. And then the posts are already in the ground, and they are hard to get up because you have to drill them in about a foot in the ground with a T-post driver. So we just got another panel. So now we have 7 of them, which I'm not complaining about, because the one way to grow a lot of food in such a small area is to grow vertically, which is why I have